I'm Carol Subiño Sullivan, Assistant Director of Faculty Teaching and Learning Initiatives at the Center for Teaching and Learning. In this video, I'm going to provide an overview to the backwards course design process. The goal is for you to identify how you can use the backwards design process to make the transition to remote teaching this summer. Backwards course design is an approach to creating courses that starts with the end in mind. That is, you start off by thinking about what students should be able to do after taking the course, and then you work backwards to build in the elements that will help students achieve those goals. Though to me, this doesn't sound backwards at all, the reason we call it backwards is to contrast it with the way that many courses are designed, by starting with a list of topics. But what's wrong with a list of topics, you ask? It feels like an outline. Many of us are familiar with it. Well, one problem is that this approach is vague. It's vague as to what exactly students will need to do with the topic. So, for example, do they need to memorize it for later recall? Do you want them to make it meaningful by relating it to their own experiences? Do you want them to apply a topic in order to solve a novel problem? Or do you want them to use a topic to evaluate a complex situation? Each of these questions require a different approach to instruction. And even if instructors have an intuitive sense of the goal in mind and teach accordingly, students may not be as clear as to what the goal is and end up focusing on the wrong thing. For example, they may end up memorizing instead of developing the ability to apply a concept to a new situation. Clearly defining the learning goals at the beginning of the course design process creates a sense of purpose for both the instructors and the students. The backwards design process challenges instructors to carefully consider what the goals of the class should be up front. The rest of the course, including the topics to be covered, are then intentionally selected to support student mastery of these goals. You can think about the goals as a compass. They guide faculty as they select what to include and, importantly, what to exclude, since there is always much more than we can fit into a single class. The goals also become the foundation on which assessments and learning activities are developed. In the end, all elements of the course should be aligned with the goals. This diagram illustrates the backwards course design process and the alignment between course elements. First, we start by defining specific, learner-centered, measurable learning objectives. Then, we determine what assessments will best allow students to demonstrate their mastery of those objectives. Finally, we determine the most appropriate instructional strategies to support students in developing mastery of the objectives, including selecting the content and how to engage students in learning that content. Once you have these elements, you have the course components of the course, and you can use them to build your syllabus as well as develop the day-by-day lesson plans. Having the big picture laid out will also help you develop a timeline and a flow for your class that allows students enough time to prepare for and complete their assessments. In addition, you should be able to use the backwards design framework to incorporate flexibility into your course to provide multiple ways for students with diverse learning needs to achieve the course learning goals. Thinking specifically about our current situation, rapidly converting courses originally designed for face-to-face engagement to a remote format, the backwards course design process can help instructors make decisions about what changes that facilitate remote engagement still maintain the integrity of the course. The learning goals serve as that compass needle that faculty can use to evaluate the alternative options for assessments and instructional strategies. In this video, you learned how in the backwards course design process, well-defined learning objectives become the compass that let you align all other course elements and let you make well-grounded decisions about what to include in your course. Using the backwards course design process is an important way to ensure that any changes you make to your course as you transition to remote teaching stay aligned with the core learning that students need to achieve.